Already getting questions. Sheila, you also have a long history with the use of government data. Tell us some about how your organization uses data to generate publications like Open Secrets. Presuming you may have experienced some problems with government data along the way, could you talk about those concerns, problems, and how do you think the government should address them?
Okay. So at CRP, we track money in politics and elite influence at the federal level. And kind of broadly speaking, we download and process data on campaign contributions, PACs and individuals' expenditures, lobbying expenditures, the revolving door, personal financial disclosures, and now increasingly the outside spending that's going on. So super PACs, these independent expenditure-only organizations, independent expenditures by nonprofits and others, electioneering communications, et cetera. Our bailiwick has long been to standardize them by industry or interest group and classify them by industry and standardize them by organization so that we can aggregate them, creating summaries on OpenTheGovernment.org, and then also slice and dice them in different ways to answer kind of whatever questions people throw at us. And the hope, of course, is that by putting it out there, we're making it intelligible for the average citizen, voter, activist, press. Certainly the press has been our kind of primary target over the last nearly 30 years that we've been in business. But now we want to go beyond that to take the information to more directly to the consumer, to the voter. And also we've gone open with our data. With the help of Sunlight Foundation, we've provided this for anyone to grab and create their own mashups and potentially create new tools with using our data. So that's kind of who we are, why we're here, where we've been, and where we're heading. As far as the government, there have been problems, large and small, some fixable, some baked in all of the data that we've used. Some of the problems are just, pardon my French, asinine. The Senate electronic filing issue. I mean, it's inexcusable at this point that the Senate still has gotten away with filing on paper, particularly in a time of economic austerity and when meaningful access to most people now means online filing. And even though the government is going in the right direction on increasing access to public data, it's sometimes kind of a two-step forward, one-step back process. So as I was discussing earlier in the week at another event, the Senate Office of Public Records has released all of their lobbying data in XML years ago. That was fantastic. But at the same time, they withdrew some of the information that had routinely been available to us before. So they need to stop suppressing data. Likewise, we'd like to see reporting requirements expanded so that we could see not just who the lobbyists have visited, or rather not just the agencies they visited, so reporting that they've lobbied the House or the Senate, which is so ambiguous that it's almost insulting, but to specify which offices they're contacting. But accessing the data already collected should certainly be a no-brainer. On personal finances, members of Congress, candidates, public officials report that they've invested in certain holdings in broad ranges. But there's a big difference between knowing that somebody's invested in, at the time this was a big deal, Enron, to the tune of $1 million and change or $1 billion and change. So these kinds of broad ranges are just not good enough. Once again, the Senate is dragging its feet on disclosure there. We have House filings, I think because of LOGA, we can now see the personal finances online, the images of the reports online. We then, again, with the help of Sunlight, take that data and key it and make it accessible, sortable, downloadable. But we don't have access to the Senate filings. We have to go to the Senate. You have to physically go to Capitol Hill and purchase these public records, page by page, 20 cents a page. It costs us hundreds of dollars. It's inaccessible to the vast majority of Americans. It's their data, but they don't have access to it. So again, that's unacceptable. Candidate reports should also be made available online. We can only afford, because we are paying for it, we can only afford to get members of Congress and key government officials. But many people call us and say, well, why don't you also provide this information for candidates? Voters should know whether candidates are hiding their assets in specific holdings and whether they are able to manage their own personal finances. Another problem is that they only file once a year. That's, some would say, unacceptable. We don't have access to the information if somebody's trading a holding at a key time around a vote, or when they have access to kind of insider information that members of Congress are privy to. We won't know about it until long after the fact. However, the principal challenge we face in our work is one that, at least until recently, we didn't really expect the government to play a role in solving, and that is that in order to aggregate the data, we need unique identifiers within the cycle and across time for entities and individuals. The government does not currently provide that, and many doubt they ever will or should, especially for individuals because of fear about identity theft and privacy issues. But we do this work to tie donors together, tracking parent-child relationships, both among organizations that lobby and or make donations, and for individual donors. So we're already doing this work. There is a consensus among many that the government should be helping to provide these identifiers so that citizens can and developers can mash up disparate government data sets more easily. I should also note that CRP researchers help provide improve the public record on a routine basis. So we're sifting through millions of records each cycle and finding errors and notifying these agencies about the problems in their data. So by opening up access more broadly to more actors, we have, I think, an incentive there, an opportunity to improve the data for all of us. And the government should make it easier for those who have expertise in the data to give feedback to them and to incorporate that into the public record and take advantage of it.
Okay. Thank you.